All right.
So let's turn to some other things.
I have the next question, which is, what is your greatest concern with how CRISPR might be used?
Okay. I confess I thought about this a little bit ahead of time. My greatest concern is not that we're going to have a new eugenics movement. Every time we have a new kind of genetic technology or understanding that comes along, people say, we're going to have a new eugenics movement.
And we should point out, you are a scholar of eugenics movements.
Right.
You know eugenics movements.
I know the eugenics movement. I wrote a whole book on it. So I don't want to give you a history lesson, but I want to characterize what eugenics meant. It's a movement that flourished from the late 19th century through the 1930s or into the 1950s, depending on which scholar you read. But you can differentiate between a public eugenics and a private eugenics. Public eugenics meant that you would use genetic information and also the ability to manipulate genes so that you would improve the overall quality of what people used to call, or currently used to call, the population, or in more neutral terms now called the genome, or I mean the germplasm, okay, of the entire population. So
like all of humanity.
Like all of humanity, right. And the idea was that you would use this information and technology so that, I say public because you're concerned with the whole with the whole population, and number one. And number two, you would use public institutions to coerce people in order to move down this line. So in the heyday of the eugenics movement, we had in this country, we pioneered sterilization laws in many states of the Union, and these laws were upheld in the United States Supreme Court by a vote of 8-1, and the decision was handed down by the leading progressive Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes Jr. And the idea was that bad folks in society who constitute alcoholics, prostitutes, criminals, and so on, and the mentally ill were behaved that way or were characterized that way by virtue of their genes. And so by sterilizing them, we would then prevent the genes from being transmitted to the next generation, and therefore the quality of the population would steadily improve. The other side of it, and this is commonly called negative eugenics, the other side of it was a positive eugenics, so that if we know about genes and we can see what kind of people have good traits, then we can encourage those people to reproduce, okay, in greater numbers. The trouble was that nobody understood what the genetic basis was of traits that people admired, such as musical ability, scholarship, writing, etc. And no one really knew how to encourage people, let alone coerce them to have more children, the good people. So the most practical technologies that were proposed, or methods that were proposed, came from a future Nobel laureate in this country named Hermann Muller, was that in order to pursue positive eugenics, you would find great men. He spoke of Einstein, for example, or Sun Yat-sen, people like that. And you would have them inseminate thousands of women, okay? And that the women would, I mean, Muller said in a book called Out of the Night, published in 1935, just imagine the women lining up in order to have themselves inseminated, and their wombs would be the vessels for the genetic improvement of the race. Well, of course, he was crazy in that regard.
So it shows that a Nobel Prize doesn't necessarily guarantee sanity.
Exactly,
right,
exactly.
Okay.
Not in social engineering. So those are the two kinds of public eugenics, and I don't think that we're going to see anything like that, either one of those, as a result of CRISPR.
Why not?
Well, that's a good question. With regard to sterilizing people or preventing people from reproducing, we have too many laws now. The Buck v. Bell was 1927. That's almost 100 years ago.
Supreme Court case.
A Supreme Court case. We have many Supreme Court cases. That decision has never been directly overturned, but it has been eroded on all sides and underneath, so that you could never get a court in the United States to say that someone must be sterilized. No.
United States.
In the United States, right.
What about
you could
China, India,
you could,
like whatever,
that's right. We do have a global society now, and so I'm speaking mainly about the United States. I'm glad you correct me there. who knows what might happen in dictatorships, for example. It's hard to imagine that these things happening, this kind of thing happening in a democracy where individual rights have any standing. On the other side, of course, positive eugenics, well, it's difficult to see women doing what Herman Muller suggested that they would be willing to do. So if we're going to improve the quality of the race, we have to get lots of people to agree to do it, lots of couples. And I don't think people make reproductive decisions in order to improve the quality of the population or the gene pool. They do it to satisfy themselves, at least in my experience. So I don't think that either one of those is going to happen. Where we do have to be concerned, however, is what has been in the prospect of what has been called a private eugenics.
Private eugenics.
Okay, where as individual couples or reproducing units, we seek to edit the germline, so to speak, so that we can have superior people, or healthier people, or healthier children, or what have you, or children who will be better able to throw a ball through a hoop at 30 feet, or whatever.
Why don't we go to the next one?
Okay. What specifically can we do right now to re-engineer humans? That's a natural segue.
Yeah, there you go. What can we do right now? Okay, what right now to re-engineer humans?